Hi guys, it's Saintvicious, and I'm going to be doing my patch rundown for patch 4.2. It's not going to be like a 100% full rundown because there's some things that I don't fully understand with it. Like take for instance like Xerath. I understand the champion and I've played around with them on PvE and seen him and where they're testing him, but I don't know how he's going to be in a real game scenario. So I'm not really going to comment on Xerath because they've changed his numbers around so many times that I have to see him. Um, while he's in like an actual game setting. So, um, Skarner though, I definitely know a lot about Skarner. He's one of my top played champions last season, and they did the rework on him. They lowered his base attack speed by 1%, which is kind of a big deal because of the way that attack speed scales. But I don't think it's going to be like crazy nerf to him, but it'll definitely be noticeable. I think because like Skarner scales really well attack speed because of the way his passive works and the way every time he autos, it lowers the cooldown of his ability. So I think that will be noticeable. A change to him. They didn't change his passive at all. Crystal Slash, they removed the slow off of it, so Skarner can't like perma slow you forever once he gets a hold of you. But instead, they kind of moved the W over to his Q, like the attack speed buff, and it's a stacking buff, so it stacks to 3 times. So I think that's going to be really good for doing jungle creeps and doing extended fights where you're just scrapping it out with somebody in a major team fight. But I think it'll be worse for ganking this change. So, but then they also took the W, and now it gives a 32% movement speed increase, which ramps up, which is a buff over what it was before. Before at max rank it was 23%, so that's going to be a nice buff to the W. And not only did they increase movement speed on it, but they also lowered the cooldown by 2 seconds, which I think is what they're just reverting it back to the normal amount it was. As I remember they nerfed Skarner's W a while ago, right before they were like toning him down to where people never wanted to play him again. And one of the changes were they raised the W cooldown to 18 seconds. And then the base shield ability power ratio got increased to 300. So I think Skarner will be overall a little tankier, and he'll be able to gap close a little bit better because he'll have increased movement speed. And also on top of that, like one of the problems was with Skarner, he didn't have the attack speed and his movement speed when his shield got busted. And his shield used to get busted like instantly, so it was kind of bad. Like if you got counter ganked with Skarner and Lee Sin kicked you and just instantly dropped your shield, you wouldn't have any of your attack speed. So I think the changes to his W and his Crystal Slash will allow him to skirmish a lot better, which is one of Skarner's original problems, as you could get ganks turned on him really easily. Targets hit on his E. His Fracture was the one that used to heal you. And it wasn't that far of a missile range. It was kind of like a close range ability, and nobody really used it. This is just kind of an interesting ability because the cooldown is now 14 seconds instead of 10, and it's a really long range. It's 1,000 missile range, and it does a 50% slow for 2.5 seconds in a line. They made the missile speed a little bit slower, and they reduced the missile width. So I think it'll be harder to hit this, but it'll be a really long range slow, which lasts for a long time. So I think it'll give you a chance to get on them, and also be able to give you a chance to close distance and get your ultimate off on them. I have to see how this plays out in a gank scenario because now you don't have perma slow, but you have a much further range on your slow. So I think for setting up ganks where you have follow-up CC, this will be really amazing. But I think for peeling and things like that late game, I think putting the slow on his E is going to be a little bit worse. I think Skarner will be pretty good though. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll see him in the top lane a lot. And I think he might be viable as a jungler. I have to see how he handles mana, because I remember they changed the Spirit Stone to give you a little bit better mana and health. And sustain was one of Skarner's problems, so maybe this will help with that. Alright, Ashe, they slightly buff/nerfed her E. Now you get 3 bonus gold on minion kills when you have 1 point in it, because people usually don't max the E out. So I think this would be pretty good for giving Ashe a faster ramp-up time, because Ashe right now, she needs items to do any kind of damage because her natural damaging abilities aren't that good. So this will allow you to get to your core items a little bit faster. And also they lowered the cooldown on it to 40 seconds on Hawkshot. So if you have some type of CDR, you'll be able to check areas pretty often. Then big change here, Dr. Mundo, his infected cleaver. They reduced the missile width to 60. So before you could get like really close range and you didn't even have to like throw the cleaver at a right angle and you'd still hit the person and slow them. So I think this will make Mundo a little bit harder to hit the cleavers, but I definitely think he'll still be like viable, still be easy to chain slow people if you're good at hitting them. Evelyn readjusted missile speed to more consistently hit close targets now. Now has a high initial missile speed that rapidly decelerates as it travels. And this is just a problem with like when minions are moving around close to you, they can actually dodge the hate spike when it comes out. It was just a little bit buggy. So I think that's just to address that issue. And big changes to Kale. They lowered the AP ratio on her Q by 0.4. In my opinion, this will make Kale unplayable. I don't think that Kale will be picked in the mid lane anymore. They just try to justify it by increasing the heal ratio on her W by like 0.1, and I don't think that. And they said nail scales ability power, the movement speed, so she'll have a massive movement speed gain. But I don't know. I think the AP ratio on Q it's too valuable. I don't think they should have done that. They should have maybe like nerfed it by 0.2. I don't think they should have nerfed it by 0.4. It's too much of a nerf. So. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think you're going to see a kill that much. I mean, they removed the mana cost off her ultimate, but who cares if she can't do as much damage as she did before? Because right now, the reason why she's so strong is because she gets to the point where she can just two-shot anybody, and then she has her ultimate, so she's guaranteed to get off that damage, and she can split push very well. I don't know. Maybe she'll do enough damage with the Lich Bane, but I think her early game power spikes will be a lot lower, and her late game. Just pretty much any point of the game is going to be weaker for Kale. Riven, they lowered her base regen again, and then they increased the shield by like 20. So, I don't know, I thought Riven wasn't that bad of a spot right now. I don't think they needed to change her anymore. And I don't think that these changes will affect her laning that much. It gives her a little bit stronger shield, but remember, with the last patch, they nerfed her shield duration. So, I guess they just want to make it to where you can poke Riven out of lane, and like bruisers and stuff will do a lot better against her. So. They just changed the particles on Rumble's Flame Splitter. That's nothing. They lowered Thresh's auto attack range by 25. I think this will be a big change against certain supports like Annie and Sona. You won't be able to like scrap them as hard because they have a pretty large range advantage on you. So that's a nerf to Thresh's laning overall, but he'll still be an amazing champion. Like his entire kit is just solid. And then they did a lot of Yasuo changes. I think that the main goal of all these changes was they just wanted to nerf his shield. Like his shield is really strong, because Yasuo does massive damage. He has really good mobility and he can gap close very well. And the problem with champions like this is you can't give them too much survivability. Like remember, Riven used to have like a really powerful shield and they nerfed it, and that's what they focused on. They want champions to be really strong and really powerful assassins, but they want you to be able to kill them too. So I think that's what they were going for here. Is they want you to have just less survivability on Yasuo. And then Ziggs, they nerfed all of his they nerfed a lot of his wave clearing ability. He'll still be able to clear waves insanely well, but what was done was when you throw out one minefield and it would instantly kill the whole wave, and the minefield would be up like right after your last one was fading, so you could permanently clear creep waves without ever having to risk getting caught or getting picked off. And I think that's a really powerful thing to have late game. So kind of a big nerf to Ziggs. I think he'll still be strong though. And they also nerfed his passive, so you can't just like auto attack a turret and take like 20% of his life with his passive, which is ridiculous. Then there's a bunch of like minor bug fixes and things. Nothing that really affects the game too much. So I'm not really gonna go into any of this. Just all bug fixes. And then yeah, just bug fixes and all this kind of stuff. So. But this is a really big change. Perseverance used to give 2% of your missing health per 5, and now it gives 1%. So they literally cut its effectiveness of this mastery point in half. It'll still be like okay, but I think that because they nerfed this, you'll start to see top laners like Shyvana and Mundo and Renekton, like it's actually a pretty big hit to them. It's not like massive where it's like, oh my god, we can't play him anymore, but it's a pretty big nerf to those champions. A lot of the top lane bruiser champions. And then for the turrets, the last turret change, all it does is to make the last 8 minutes. That doesn't really affect it very much. I don't think that's that big of a deal. And then there's Twisted Tree Line changes, which I don't play, so I can't really comment on that. Just guess nerf to Kha'Zix because he can just pick people off so well on that map. But anyways, that's the end of my patch rundown. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.